What is going on, everyone? RonMan coming back at you, and today we're taking a look at the Flintstones for Super Nintendo. Also, if you're new here and you like my content, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, as well as that bell notification so you stay up to date with RonMan Gaming. Wow, someone thought that looked cute. The Flintstones was developed and published by Ocean Software and released for the Super Nintendo in 1995. It's based on the Flintstones movie starring John Goodman, Elizabeth Perkins, Rick Moranis, and Rosie O'Donnell. It even proudly says right on the box, the only video game based on the blockbuster movie. That's not a good thing. That's like saying, hey, this game sucks. And it does. The story here is that someone named Cliff Vanderclave has kidnapped Pebbles, Bam Bam, Betty, Barney, and Wilma. So basically everybody Fred knows. Full disclosure, I have not seen this piece of crap movie, so I won't make comparisons between the movie and the game. The Flintstones is an action platformer. There are 5 zones, each with a couple stages. You play as Fred, and the objective for most levels is to just get to the end of the stage. You can use your club, throw rocks, and throw bowling balls. The levels are all quite large, with enemies and obstacles scattered throughout. The overall level design is what I would consider cockamamie. Having big sprawling levels isn't necessarily bad, but they need to be intuitive and worth exploring. Most levels come off as stale and long-winded. To make matters worse, there are no checkpoints whatsoever. So when you die, and you will, you go all the way back to the beginning of the stage. I really can't believe they left out this common courtesy, especially for 1995. I mean, how do you not have any checkpoints? That just blows my mind. The levels here have no real sense of direction. I wouldn't say these stages are maze-like, but they're far from straightforward. Enemy placements are sporadic and poorly planned. The very first enemy you see is this frog. He just kinda hops around. If he just so happens to make contact with you, you'll take damage, although he is easy enough to deal with. But the next enemy you meet is this guy standing at the top of this hill. He pushes a boulder at you. These boulder guys are some of the most annoying enemies in the game. You really have to time your jumps, and it's harder than it looks. So why would they make this guy as the first aggressive enemy you deal with? It just seems like a silly choice that makes you think the developers were inexperienced. I've said this before many times, but in good games, they introduce you to enemies in more safe environments so you can get a good feel for the controls and how the game works. But of course, it seems like the developers for this game missed that staff meeting. Throughout the game, you'll often encounter enemies who just suddenly appear. Check this out. There's an enemy below the screen here who I cannot see. He threw a disc, so when I jumped off this ledge, of course I land on the disc. How fair is that? There's no way I would have known. In the jungle, stage 2, these gorillas fall out of trees. Sometimes leaves fall to signify a fallen gorilla, or in this case, the developers just didn't hide him well enough, but sometimes a gorilla will just fall without the warning of falling leaves. This lack of consistency is like a staple in awful video games. Same with the cavemen who throw the boulders at you. After you deal with a few of them, you learn the pattern, but then there's this guy who, without warning, throws it like this. See what I mean? Also, you can only get hit 3 times before you're dead. But where's the life meter? Yeah, it's another moronic design choice. So at the bottom of the screen, you can see how many lives, bowling balls, and rocks you have left. But where's the life meter? Well, it's actually the life icon itself. See, the more idiotic the facial expression is, the closer to death you are. Okay, but what does that mean? How many levels of idiocy are there? Well, let's take a look at the manual. Now, you'll have to bear with me as the manual is incorrect, but at least I can make my point. Okay, so this face is maximum energy. Up here, where it says maximum energy, is actually first hit. Down here, where it says first hit, is actually your final hit. I mean, are you surprised that these guys screwed up the manual as well? It's actually a pretty stupid screw up if you think about it. Why would anyone assume that Fred's calm-looking face is the icon for Almost Dead? How did they mess that up? Anyway, the life meter is a really stupid design choice that you'll just have to get used to. It's just annoying that your life meter is not clearly outlined for the player. The graphics, I think, are decent. They're not outstanding by any means. You can tell they put a lot more work into Fred than they did the enemy sprites, but oddly enough, I don't like the way Fred looks. But of course, this is just my opinion. The controls are also terrible. There are times where it seems like my inputs get eaten. Just moving around seems kinda stiff and sluggish. I really don't like how when you press down to duck, the camera immediately shifts down. I found this to be so jarring. Also, the default control scheme is asinine. They have Y as your main club attack and A as jump. Why not B? B makes the most sense. Instead, B is to use a bowling ball. To be fair, you can change this in the options menu, so that's good. This game does have a 2-player option, but it's 2-player alternating and both players play as Fred. The Flintstones is a very difficult game, but for all the wrong reasons. You die in 3 hits, there are not enough life refills throughout the levels, enemies often appear without warning, and there are no checkpoints. If you do want to check this game out, at least you won't have to beat it all in one sitting, as there are passwords, or more accurately, passphrases. When you make it to new zones, the game will usually show a cutscene. At the top of the screen, you'll see a silly phrase, "Cliff hides hot juice." That's the passphrase. When it comes to the music, I mean, there's really not a whole lot to say other than it's completely forgettable. I guess we'll end this review on a high note. I like that they included many different languages. You can pick the language before you start the game. Yeah, so this game is not very good. At least Ocean Software were kind enough to state that clearly on the front of the box. Yeah, this game is of very poor quality. It's down there with like Beethoven and Yogi Bear. I'd only check this game out if you're looking for a good laugh. Anyway, my name's RonMan. Thank you so much for watching. Why don't you comment down below if you've played this game and if you like this game, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.